Hello students, welcome to Science Learning Gateway. Today we will start class 10th NCERT Science chapter number 8, How do organisms reproduce? This is a very important chapter from the biology part, okay? And it will nearly carry 5 to 6 marks for your board exam. So it is very important. In this chapter what we'll read basically what is reproduction, what are its type, okay? There are two types of reproduction, sexual and asexual. And then again we'll read about the differences between the two types of reproduction. Next we'll read about reproduction in human beings, also reproductive health. These topics will cover in this chapter. So let's get started. Okay, so our first topic is what is reproduction. So what is reproduction? From your junior classes, you have read this topic, reproduction. What is reproduction? It is a process by which living organisms produce their young ones or produce the new individual similar to themselves. Means that the organism which will be formed by reproduction will be similar to their parents. So what is reproduction? It is a process by which living organisms produce new individual similar to themselves. Okay, nucleus of cell. You all know that in our body many cells are there, or in every living organism cells are there. In the cell, nucleus is present, and every nucleus contains what? DNA. DNA is a genetic material. What is the full form of this DNA? Deoxyribose nucleic acid. So you have to remember the full form of DNA. DNA replicates and form new cell. Replicates means it will again divide and it will form new cells causing variation. What is variation? Variation is the differences. Okay. Variation means differences. So these new cells will be similar but may not be identical to the original one. The cells which are formed by the replication of DNA can be similar. Can be similar to the parent cell, but it cannot be identical. Okay. Variations are useful for the survival of the individuals and species over time, as well as basis of evolution. So what is the importance of this variation? Without variation, species cannot survive. Variation is very important for the survival of the species, and it is also the basis for evolution. So there are two importance of variation. It is useful for the survival of individual or species, and it is also the basis for evolution. Without variation, an organism cannot survive in the environment. Our next topic is types of reproduction. So there are two types of reproduction, sexual and asexual. Okay. Now we'll discuss the differences between sexual and asexual. This is very important question from your exam point of view. Generally questions are asked, write the differences between asexual and sexual reproduction. Okay. So the first difference is in asexual reproduction. Generally asexual reproduction occurs in plants or in lower organisms, and sexual reproduction will also occur in higher organisms like the flowering plants or human beings, dogs, elephants, cats, etc. Okay. Asexual reproduction. In asexual reproduction, what happens? Single individual give rise to new individual. Means in asexual reproduction, only single parent is needed to give birth to new organism, and the new organism formed will be exactly similar to their parents. Okay, for example, amoeba will give birth to amoeba only, and that amoeba will be similar to the parent amoeba. So in asexual reproduction, what happens? Single individual is needed to give birth to new organism. But in sexual reproduction, what happens? Two individual, that is male and female, are needed to give rise to new individual. Means in sexual reproduction, what happens? Two parents are needed, male and female, to give birth to new organism. Next point in asexual reproduction is gametes are not formed. Okay, but in sexual reproduction, gametes are formed like sperms and eggs are the gametes in sexual reproduction. So these gametes are formed in sexual reproduction, but in asexual reproduction, no need of gametes, so gametes are not formed. In asexual reproduction, new individual is identical to parent. Means a newly formed organism will be exact copy of its parent. It will be identical to the parent. But in sexual reproduction, what happens? New individual is genetically similar but not identical to their parents. For example, we are not exactly similar to our parents. Some similarities are there, but we are not exact copy of our parents. Means our face is not same like our parents, people will not identify if we that they are our parents. Means we cannot be similar to them genetically. Means our genetic material will be same, but our structure, look and all will not. Suppose your father and mother are very tall, but it's not it's not like, suppose your father is tall and your mother is short in height, it's not like that you will also be tall. It can be that you will be of medium height, you can be that you can be the height like your mother, it can be like that you will be like your father. So it's not like, in sexual reproduction the individuals are not exactly similar to their parents. The fourth point in asexual reproduction is it is very useful method for rapid multiplication. Since in asexual reproduction only single parent is needed, so it is a very fast process. Means individual, it will give rise to more and more individual in a very short period of time. But in sexual reproduction what happens, two parents are needed, so it is a slow process. It is useful method to generate more variation in species. Means in sexual reproduction what happens, more variation is formed. So we have already discussed that variation is very useful for the survival of the species, and it is also the basis of evolution. So in sexual reproduction what happens, since more variation is there, so the chance of survival is more in sexual reproduction. But in asexual reproduction variation is less, so the chance of survival is less in asexual reproduction. Okay, fifth point for asexual reproduction is adopted by lower organism. It is generally seen in lower organism, but in sexual reproduction it is seen in higher organism. Examples of asexual reproduction are amoeba, hydra, and for sexual reproduction examples are human beings, elephants, cats, etc. So these are the differences between sexual and asexual reproduction. Our next topic is mode of asexual reproduction. So what is asexual reproduction? Asexual reproduction is that reproduction in which single parent is needed to give birth to form new organisms. Okay, now we'll see different modes of asexual reproduction. The first mode of asexual reproduction is fission. What is fission? Breaking. Fission means what? Break. It will break down. Okay, fission means break down. Okay, now we'll discuss what is fission. It is one of the method of asexual reproduction in which parent cells divides into daughter cells. There are two types of fission, binary and multiple fission. Means fission is a process of asexual reproduction in which parent cell will divide to form what? Daughter cells. And there are how many types of fission? Two types, binary and multiple. Binary, bi means what? Two. Means the parent cell will divide into two daughter cells. And multi means what? Many. So in multiple fission what will happen? Parent cell will divide into many daughter cells. Now we'll discuss binary fission and multiple fission. First of all, we'll discuss binary fission. In binary fission, an organism divides into two daughter cells. So you have to remember, in binary fission, organism will divide into how many daughter cells? Two daughter cells. Example, amoeba, leishmania and paramecium. So you have to remember the examples of amoeba, leishmania. Suppose in question exam it will be asked which type of which mode of asexual reproduction will take place in leishmania. So you have to remember binary fission. In this diagram you can see this is the parent amoeba. Again, the amoeba will expand its body, the nucleus will be expanded, and again it will divide into two daughter cells, and these two daughter cells will survive individually. Okay, now multiple fission. What is multiple fission? In multiple fission, an organism divides into many daughter cells. Example, plasmodium. So what is this plasmodium? It is a type of protozoa. You have heard about malaria. Malaria is caused by a protozoa called Plasmodium vivax. So this is that plasmodium. You can see in this diagram, many daughter cells are formed inside this multiple fission. So many daughter cells. If it will come inside our body, if the mosquito will inject us, then it will grow very rapidly inside our body. So this is the plasmodium, and it will it will produce by which method? Multiple fission. Okay. Our next mode of reproduction is fragmentation. What happens in fragmentation? Fragments means pieces. In fragmentation, an organism breaks up into smaller pieces. Upon maturation, each piece develops into new individual. So in fragmentation, what happens? An organism is there. It can break into two or three pieces. That two or three pieces will mature and it will grow into a new individual. Example of fragmentation is Spirogyra. Okay, Spirogyra is the example of fragmentation. In this diagram, you can see this green like tube-like structure. Nucleus is present. septa is present, spiral chloroplast is present. Suppose the spirogyra will break from here. From here it will break and it will divide into two pieces. These two pieces will develop into new individual upon maturation. This piece will grow individually and this piece will also grow individually. So this is our fragmentation. Our next mode of reproduction is regeneration. Re means again it will grow. Re. Okay. In regeneration, if an organism is cut or broken up into many pieces, each piece grow into complete organism. Suppose organism is there, accidentally its body is broken up into many pieces. Those pieces will again regenerate and they will form new organism. Example is Hydra and Planaria. In this diagram, we'll see the regeneration planaria. Suppose this is the planaria. Suppose its body part is cut like this, accidentally or by some other organism, its body is cut like this into three pieces. These three pieces will grow individually and they will form new organisms. This is regeneration. You have to remember the example, Hydra and planaria. Next one is budding. Budding means budding. Bud means what? Small outgrowth. In this method, a bud is formed which develops into tiny individual and when fully mature, detached from the parent body and becomes a new independent individual. So budding is very easy. What you have to write? In this method, a small bud-like structure will be formed on an individual, and after maturation, when it will mature, what will happen? It will detach itself from the parent body and become a new individual. Example is Hydra. Again, in Hydra can reproduce by budding also and by regeneration also. So we'll discuss the diagram. Suppose this is the parent Hydra and the small structure is called the bud. This outgrowth is called bud. This bud will develop. It will develop its body by repeated cell division. It will develop. Okay. After that, it will again grow into big bud. After maturation, what will happen? It will detach. It will break from the parent body and will grow into a new individual. So this is our budding. Next topic is vegetative propagation. Very important topic. Okay. Vegetative propagation. In plants, how many parts are there? Two parts. Vegetative part and the reproductive part. Example of vegetative parts are roots, stems, leaves. Okay. An example of reproductive part is flowers and seeds. Okay. So in vegetative propagation, what happens? A plant will grow by using the vegetative parts like roots, stems and leaf. It is the asexual method, but plant can also grow by sexual method by using its reproductive part. That we'll discuss later. Now we'll discuss how plant grows by using its vegetative parts. It is a type of asexual reproduction seen in plants in which new plant grows from vegetative part of the plant like roots, stems and leaves. So in vegetative propagation, what happens? A plant will grow using its vegetative part like roots, stems and leaves, and it is the asexual method of reproduction. Okay, now we'll see the example of some of the plants which grow by roots. Dahlia and sweet potato, they will grow by roots. In sweet potato, you have seen the root like small roots are present. Okay, so that's why sweet potato can be grown by roots. Stem. By stem, what we can grow? Rose we can grow, ginger we can grow, potato also we can grow. Okay, stem, many times you have seen the rose plant, we can grow the rose plant using the stem cutting. Leaves. Bryophyllum is the example in which it can be grown by leaves. In bryophyllum leaves, small notches are present at the margin of the leaf. Okay, if those notches will come in contact with soil and water, it will grow into a new plant. So leaves can be, bryophyllum can be grown by leaves. Artificial method of vegetative propagation. Okay, vegetative propagation can be natural and can be artificial. So these are some of the plants can be grown naturally using its roots, stems and leaves. But some of the plants can be grown using the artificial method of vegetative propagation. Those are layering, grafting, cutting and tissue culture. In layering, what happens? In layering, jasmine can be grown. Means the jasmine plant will be allowed to come in contact with the soil, and from the soil it will grow into a new plant. Okay, next, grafting. Mango we can grow by grafting. Suppose two varieties of mango we have. One mango tree will give us big size of mango. Another mango tree will give a mango which are very sweet in taste. So if we will combine both the trees by using the method of grafting, then the mango tree which we will get now, will give us the fruit which are big in size also and which are very sweet in taste also. Cutting, by cutting which plant we can grow? Rose we can grow, hibiscus we can grow. You have seen many times we used to cut the rose plant, and again those cuttings we are using for growing the new plants. Next method is tissue culture. Example for tissue culture is orchid or ornamental plants like orchid. Generally they are used for decoration. Okay, so in what is tissue culture? In tissue culture, what happens? New plants are grown by removing the tissues or the cells from the growing tip of a plant. Means some parts are the growing part of the plant, like shoots and all. From that, some tissues are removed or some cells are removed from that. Those cells are again placed in some artificial medium. In artificial medium means some hormones etc they used to put in that artificial medium, where the plant will grow rapidly and they will form a small group of cells called callus. That callus again transferred to another medium containing hormones for growth and differentiation. Okay, again that callus, that group of cell is allowed to come in contact with hormones and it will grow and differentiate. The plantlets are then placed in the soil so that they can grow into a mature plants. After that, the small plants are then placed in the soil so that they will grow into a mature plant. What is the benefit of this tissue culture? Using tissue culture, what happens? Many plants can be grown from one parent in disease-free condition. Means the plants will also free of diseases. Okay. Generally, we used to grow which type of plants? Ornamental plants like orchids. Now we'll discuss the advantages of vegetative propagation. Okay, first advantage of vegetative propagation is plant raised by vegetative propagation can bear flowers and fruits earlier than those produced from seeds. Suppose we have two plants. One we have grown by seeds, another we have grown by vegetative propagation. The plant which is grown by vegetative propagation will give us flowers and fruits earlier than that which we have grown from seeds. We can grow plants like banana, mango, rose and jasmine that have lost the capacity to produce seeds. Many plants like banana, mango, orange, rose, jasmine etc. Now they are not capable of producing seeds. So we can grow those plants also using vegetative propagation method. New plants are genetically similar to their parents. The new plants which we have grown by vegetative propagation will be genetically similar to their parents. Okay. Okay, our last mode of asexual reproduction is spore formation. What happens in spore formation? Now we'll discuss that. Spores, what are spores? They are small bulb-like structure which are covered by thick walls. Means like this. These are the spores. These are small structures. Okay, they are covered in a bag like structure. Okay, under favorable condition they germinate and produce new organism. Example, rhizopus. This is the structure of a rhizopus. This is the bulb like structure. Inside that many spores are present. When they will mature, it will burst and these spores will go in different places with the help of air, water etc. and where they will get the suitable condition, they will grow. Example, that bread mold. It is also the example of spore formation. Okay, now come to sexual reproduction. This is a very interesting topic, okay, and very important also. Sexual reproduction. What we have read in sexual reproduction? What we have discussed earlier? In sexual reproduction, two parents are needed, male and female, to produce the young one or produce the new organism. Okay. When reproduction takes place as a result of fusion of male and female gamete, it is called sexual reproduction. Means in sexual reproduction, what happens? Male parent is also needed and female parent is also needed. The male gamete is called the sperm and female gamete is called the egg. Okay. Fusion of male and female gamete is called fertilization. Means the union of male and female gamete, sperm and egg, is called fertilization, which results in variation. Variation means differences. In sexual reproduction, more variation is there, but in asexual reproduction, less variation is produced. Okay. Now first we will discuss sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Okay. We have discussed that in plants have two parts, vegetative part and reproductive part. So, as the flowers are having the reproductive part, they will also grow by sexual reproduction. So which one is the reproductive part of a plant? Flowers. Flowers are the reproductive organ of a plant. You have to remember this one. The different parts of a flower are sepals, petals, stamens and pistils. These are the different parts of a flower. Sepals, petals, stamens and pistils. Stamen is the male reproductive part and pistil is the female reproductive part. Stamen is also called androecium and pistil is also called gynoecium. So you have to remember stamen is the male reproductive part, stamen, men, men. So it is the male and pistil is the female reproductive part. Okay. Now we'll discuss the types of flower. So there are two types of flower, bisexual and unisexual. We are in unisexual or bisexual? We are unisexual, means the boys are the males, they have only one type of sex, and the girls are the female, they have also one type of sex. So one types of sex or gender is present in every individual, so we are unisexual. Now we'll discuss the types of flower. So there are two types of flower, bisexual and unisexual. Bi means two, means both the types of character, male and female, will be present in the same flower. It contains both male and female reproductive parts, that is stamen and pistil. Means in the same flower, both the reproductive part, male part will also be present and female part will also be present, that is stamen and pistil. Example is hibiscus and mustard. So what are bisexual flower? Bisexual flowers are those in which both male and female reproductive part, that is stamen and pistils, are present. Hibiscus and flower, you can see the flower, this is the hibiscus flower. Okay, and mustards are also example of bisexual. Now we'll discuss unisexual. So what are unisexual flowers? The unisexual flowers are those flowers which contain either male or female reproductive part. Okay, it can happen that in that flower only male part is there, or it can happen that in that flower only female part is there. So that is the unisexual flower. Uni means one. Example, papaya and watermelon. Like this you can remember the fruits in which many seeds are present. They are the example of unisexual flowers. So in this papaya also you can see many seeds are there. In watermelon also many seeds are there. Those are the examples of unisexual flower. Like that you can remember. Okay. Now we'll discuss the structure of a flower. So what are the parts which we have read in the flower? Sepals, petals, pistils, sepals, petals, pistils, stamen, etc. Okay, now we'll discuss those parts in detail. So this is the structure of a flower. This green type of structure, the green small leaf like structure, are called the sepals. They provide the protection to the flower when it is in the bud stage. Next, this colored part of a flower, the colored that petal, these are called the petals. They are generally used for attracting the insects. Okay, next one is this structure is called the stigma, and from the stigma one uh, long tube like structure is called the style. Okay, next is this round structure is called the ovary. So stigma, style and ovary, they are collectively known as pistils. Okay, this is the female reproductive part. Stigma, style and ovary, they form the female reproductive part called the pistil. This side what we have, anther, filament. Okay, this anther and filament are the male reproductive part and they are called the stamen. So you have to remember, anther and filament, they will form the stamen. Stigma, style and ovary, they will form the pistil. Female reproductive part, male reproductive part. Okay, now we will discuss the process of seed formation. Okay, so why these petals are colored? To attract the insect. And why the insect should be attracted to the flower? Because the insects help in pollination process. And what is pollination? The transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma is called pollination. This is our anther. In the anther, what happens? Pollen grains are present. Okay, male part. These are the male gametes. Pollen grains are the male gametes. They should be transferred to the stigma in order for the fertilization to take place. For the fusion of male and female gamete, it is needed that the pollen grain should be transferred to the stigma, and in that pollination process insects help. So what is pollination? Transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma is called pollination. If the pollen grains will be collected on the stigma, from the stigma they will move through the style and they will reach the ovary. Inside the ovary, ovule is present, and inside the ovule what is present? Egg is present. The pollen grains will go and fuse with the egg in order to form the zygote, and that zygote will change into a new plant. And when this flower will dry off, means when this flower gets dried, what will happen? The ovary will change into fruit and ovule will change into seed. So you have to remember, after fertilization, ovary changes into fruit and ovule changes into seed. Many times this question is asked. Okay, and the other parts of the flower will fall off. They don't have any use, so they will fall off. Generally, I've seen in the plants in which flowers are present. Before the formation of fruit, what happens? Flowers are formed, and those flower will change into fruit. For example, in pomegranate also, first you can see the flower. After that, that flower will change into fruit. Guava also, mango also. Now we'll discuss the process of seed formation. The pollen grains produced in the anther. In this anther, pollen grains are present, are transferred to the stigma of same flower. This is called. Okay, now we'll discuss the two types of pollination. There are two types of pollination: self-pollination and cross-pollination. Self means in the same flower. Cross means in the different flowers. So if the transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma takes place in the same flower, it is called what? Self-pollination. And if the transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma takes place in different flowers, then it is called cross-pollination. And pollination can occur with the help of the agents like air, water, or animals, insects. Okay. Pollen grains germinate and form pollen tubes which pass through the style to reach the ovules present in the ovary. Once the pollen grain will be transferred to the stigma, they will germinate and they will form what? Pollen tubes. And through this style, they will reach the ovary, and after the ovary, they will go inside the ovule. The fusion of male and female gamete is called fertilization. Fusion means the male and female gamete will come close to each other. Male gamete in this flower is pollen grains and female gamete in this flower is eggs. They will come close to each other and it is called fertilization, which leads to the formation of zygote. So you have to remember the definition of fertilization. The fusion of male and female gamete is called fertilization, and it helps in the formation of zygote. Zygote divides to form an embryo within the ovule. After that, what will happen? Inside the ovule, what will happen? Zygote will divide itself to form an embryo. Embryo is the baby plant. Okay. The ovule develops a tough coat and is gradually converted into a seed. After fertilization, what will happen? The ovule will form a seed coat. It will develop a thick coat outside it and it will change into a seed, and ovary changes into fruit and other parts of the flower fall off. So what you will write in fertilization, in that reproduction of plants, you have to draw this diagram. You have to mention the parts of the flower. After that, you have to say, after that you have to tell that pollen grains are transferred from anther to the stigma by the process of pollination. After that, the pollen grains will germinate and they will form pollen tubes, and through this style they will reach the ovary, and after the ovary they will go inside the ovule, and inside the ovule fusion of male and female gamete takes place. That is called fertilization. After fertilization, the ovule will change into seed, ovary will change into fruit, and other parts of the flower fall off. So this is your reproduction in flowering plants. Once we'll discuss this topic through this diagram. Okay, so this is your diagram. These are the pollen grains which are present on the stigma. These pollen grain will develop into pollen tube. Okay, these are the male germ cells, male gametes. They will develop a pollen tube and they will reach the ovary. From the ovary, they will go inside the ovule, and there the fertilization process will take place. Okay. Okay, the seeds which are developed from the ovule, they will grow into a new plant when they will come in contact with air and moisture. When they will get the suitable condition, when we take any seed and will keep that in the soil and will give them water, they will get the air and moisture, it will germinate into a new plant. Like this is the gram seed. Okay. Cotyledons are there in which foods are stored. Okay, and this seed has two parts. One is called the plumule. It will grow into shoot, and this part, the lower part, is called the radicle. It will grow into a root. So the definition of pollination is also important. Transfer of pollen grain from anther to stigma is called pollination. You have to remember this definition. Okay. So student, till here only we'll do today. Rest of the topic we'll cover in the next video, which will be the part 2 of the same chapter. Thank you for watching my channel. Please like and subscribe my channel, Science Learning Gateway. If this video is helpful for you, share this with your friends so that it will be beneficial for them also. So our next video will be on the same chapter. The topics which we have not covered in this session, we will cover those topics in the next video. Okay, thank you.